to the Monday Night Education. If you hit got it, that would be good because we'll record this for others who don't get to see this. Thank you for joining us tonight for Monday Night Educational Meeting at Caring Kind. Thank you for Elizabeth for facilitating and presenting tonight. I'm Michelle Piskin. I'm the Vice President of Education and Training, and I have the pleasure to introduce Elizabeth Santiago, Bravo Santiago, who's been with Caring Kind many years. But also Elizabeth comes to us as the Medical Alert New York City Wanderer Safety Program Director at Caring Kind, which is the heart of the Alzheimer's caregiving. We were formerly known as the Alzheimer's Association, and we went back to our roots in 501c3 for care, and we went to what we believe in, which is supporting caregivers and people in the early stage and throughout their journey. So Elizabeth is responsible for the overall operation, marketing, and management of the Medical Alert New York City Wanderer Safety Program, with the goal of ensuring that the program is available to all New Yorkers who need it. Elizabeth received her undergraduate degree in therapeutic recreation from Lehman College City University in New York. Over 25 experience working with people diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease or other related dementias. And as part of her role, she works closely in partnership with the New York City Police Department, providing training, education to police officers, detectives, public service agents, and others in law enforcement. She also educates family caregivers and paid professionals about Medical Alert New York City Wanderer Safety Program and the ways to ensure safety for persons living with cognitive loss. So in fiscal year 06, Elizabeth received 2006 the National Safe Return Recognition Award for increasing safe return registration by 117%. That's very notable. I would love to know where we're at now, but I can assure you that Elizabeth is hard at work keeping people safe and helping them stay safe while they're lost and helping them find safe return. So a little housekeeping before we start. And those who may not have visited our website, or certainly you're free to call our helpline, and we'll post the helpline number in chat if you have some questions. Or but in the chat, Elizabeth, do you prefer that I monitor the chat for you, or would you like, when there are questions you would like to answer, or would you take breaks? How would you like to handle questions?
So Michelle, if you should so kindly monitor the chat, and then we could have questions at the end.
Okay, great. And if there's something pertinent that you don't get to, lots of times what happens, people put a question in chat and you end up covering it in your presentation. So we'll give a little time at the end so you can go through the chat box. So please put your questions in chat, and we'll be able I'll be able to monitor that. And if there's something that I feel like we need to interrupt, I will. But I'm not going to wait any longer. I'm going to turn it right over to Elizabeth, because I know she's worked very hard on this, and we're very excited that you're all here for this very important topic. Okay, thank you, Elizabeth. I'm going to put myself on mute and off camera because you don't need to hear my dogs bark.
Thank you, Michelle. It's always lovely working with you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening, and let's get started. So what to do when a person with dementia wanders? So getting lost and staying safe. And I know caregivers at times are very overwhelmed and very concerned about the people they love and the wandering issues that may occur. Okay, so just to tell you a little about Caring Kind, who we are. So in 1978, we were founded as Alzheimer's Society, one of nation's first charities focused on dementia. In 1985, we founded the New York City chapter of the Alzheimer's Association. And in 2015, we retained independent charity status and became Caring Kind when Alzheimer's Association became centralized. And so our mission here at Caring Kind is to create, deliver, and promote comprehensive and compassionate care and support services for individuals and families affected by Alzheimer's disease and related dementias, and to eliminate Alzheimer's disease through the advancement of research. We achieve our mission by providing programs and services for individuals with dementia, their family, and professional caregivers. increasing public awareness, collaborating with research centers, and informing public policy through advocacy. So we do offer early stage programs. We have cognitive stimulation program, Journey Together, MAP program, To Whom I May Concern, Make It Matter, and Life Pathway. So these are early stage programs. So the CST is an evidence-based small group therapy that stimulates minds, and it generates language and new thoughts and ideas. And it helps in improving cognition, mood, and most important, it provides socialization for people in the early stages. Okay, and this engagement that occurs during the CST therapy, CST is also a quality of life program. Journey Together, okay, is a workshop to support people with mild cognitive impairment or early memory loss, adjusting to life with memory and or cognitive changes. Learning to live with changes is very important. And so this is a 10-week topical discussions offered virtually in small groups, and they learn about what is dementia, living with the changes that are occurring to them, and connecting, making relationships with other people, and talking about grief and loss, the changes that they are going through, and telling their story, which is very important. MAP. This is an amazing program that we have now. MAP stands for Memory Advocate Peers. It's an amazing program. And so this program is for those who are newly diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment or early stage dementia and their support partners. And so we have volunteers and mentors who are former caregivers and provide support to someone who has been through it. So if you're interested as a caregiver in providing support to someone else, this is the ideal program for you. It's a great program that we have. It's new and it's really thriving. To Whom I May Concern, that's a writer's workshop. It's given a voice to the person living with dementia. They can become very creative and in a dialogue through sharing stories and writing about their own life experiences. And this program is held virtually, and it's about 8 to 10 weeks. And it's about their style. There's no right or wrong, but it's their style, okay? We have a helpline. We have family and partner, friend, and caregiver services. So we offer a helpline, we offer medical alert, and I'll talk about that later. We have support groups and partnering together, education workshops, and one-to-one coaching. So our helpline is available. It's available for information, referral, resources, and dementia consultations. We do have social work services here, and they could provide you with dementia consultations. We have support groups, and our support groups also consist of bereavement groups that we have. Meetings are held in all 5 boroughs, day and evening times, and we have them in multiple languages. So we also offer support groups for adult children, spouses, siblings, daughters, LGBT caregivers, and disease-specific groups. And if you want to learn more about that, the helpline is where you could call to learn about it. We have educational workshops like the one tonight, and this is to support family members and their friends. We have Partnering Together, which is a support workshop for new and early stage family and friend caregivers. And one-to-one coaching, and that's where social workers lead services, including evidence-based services. So if you call up our helpline at 646-744-2900, you could learn, you could speak to someone. The helpline representative could tell you the upcoming workshops and the dates, and they could set you up to receive a Zoom link, okay? listen, don't hesitate to call the helpline for any questions or concerns you may have. Okay, we're here to support you in any way. All right. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's disease in the United States today, it's a lifetime risk for Alzheimer's at the age of 45. 1 in 5 women and 1 in 10 men. 6 million Americans are living with Alzheimer's. 1 in 9 adults 65 and older has Alzheimer's disease, and 1 in 3 adults dies with Alzheimer's disease or dementia. And by 2050, people 65 and older with Alzheimer's may grow to at least 12.7 or 13 million people. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about dementia and Alzheimer's. So dementia is a group of symptoms resulting from an underlying medical condition, and it affects the 4 areas of functioning, which is memory, cognition, behavior, and physical functioning. And these are very important functioning for a person to live on a day-to-day life and to have their activities of daily living. So when we talk about memory and dementia, so dementia is caused by damage to the brain. And this damage can affect areas of the brain involved in creating. I hear someone in the background. Could someone just, thank you very much. So dementia is caused by damage to the brain, and this damage can affect areas of the brain involved in creating and retrieving memories. For a person with dementia, memory problems will become more persistent and will begin to affect everyday life. Okay, loss of cognition, that function, it is the thinking, the remembering, and the reasoning, and behavior abilities to such an extent that it interferes with daily life and activities. It interferes in your relationships with other people as well. Symptoms may include problems with language skills, visual perception, or paying attention. Okay. Behavior, they may no longer be able to do things for themselves. They enjoy or follow their interests without help, or they may experience symptoms of depression, become more withdrawn. These are behaviors that you will begin to see with someone that has dementia. Their physical function level, they'll gradually lose their ability to walk, to stand, to get up from a chair, to get dressed, or even to get out of bed. Difficult with language affects their social functioning, okay? And again, their relationships, not only with their caregiver and their partner, but with people in general, okay? These symptoms are significant enough to impact the person's ability and their daily activities of living and their relationship, okay? So what is Alzheimer's? So Alzheimer's is a progressive, degenerative, irreversible brain disease. It's the most common cause of dementia. It's also not just about forgetting, planning, reasoning, logic. Dementia is the umbrella term for over 120 types of dementia, and Alzheimer's is the number 1 type of dementia, okay? Alzheimer's begins gradually, and the average length of this disease varies from person to person. It can last up to 20 years. It can last up to 20 years, okay? Alzheimer's is not a normal part of the aging process. And there is a difference between the normal aging versus the Alzheimer's disease. So the normal aging is forgetting where you place your keys, but when you have Alzheimer's is I forget how to make the key function. So, you know, it's a big difference there in how things function in life. It may be anything from a key to opening this bottle of water like this, okay? Forgetting the name of a movie you watched last week versus forgetting having ever gone to the theater, okay? So that's the difference. So changes from dementia. So the brain changes cause a decline in one or more of the following areas. Memory. So the changes that occurred there, okay, happens because of the damage to the brain, and the damage affects areas that involve the person's creativity, and retrieving memories will affect everyday life and relationships, okay? So when a person your loved one doesn't remember who you are, this may be occurring in their brain. They cannot remember who you are, okay? Executive function. They're not able to plan ahead. They're not able to meet goals. They're not able to follow multiple directions, or they don't have self-control. That gets affected, okay? So when I say plan ahead, something, let's just say driving, for instance. So they're driving in the car, and if their executive function is, if they have dementia, their executive function of being able to plan ahead, if someone is crossing the street and did not wait for the red light and they jump in front of the car, will that person be able to step on that brake fast enough to stop that vehicle? Planning ahead, okay? Following multiple directions, being able to cross the street, make a left, go down the train, get on the train. That's not gonna happen, because now the dementia is taking over that part of the brain, and they're not going to be able to do multiple directions anymore. Visual and spatial functioning, the sense of directions, like tying their shoes, reading a map, being able to tell where objects are. Something as simple as putting a shirt on and buttoning your shirt, that may not happen anymore, because they're not able to follow those directions of put on your shirt, button your shirt, and put your tie around your neck, and I'll do your tie for you. That may not happen anymore. Those simple directions that they were able to do years ago will not be able to take place now, okay? Reading a map, reading a map. I mean, I don't have dementia, and I have a hard time reading a map. So the part of that functioning is not going to be able to work for them, because their brain won't be able to process of how to read a map. Do I look for a route? Do I look for a state? Do what number? Being able to know where objects are, okay? So that's real important. I have spoken to caregivers that have said to me that their loved one has difficulty cooking, because they lean too close to the pot and you can get burned. So you have to be careful with this person now, because they are not able to determine how close they are to that pot. So even if you're wearing an apron that, that's padded, they still can get burned. Or if they want to go to the pot that's in the back burner to stir something, they could lean over and burn themselves. So that's very dangerous, okay? And we have to be very, very careful with that. Language. They're not able to make sentences and express themselves, okay? The comprehension is difficult. Difficulty in finding words. Ask yourself, have you ever been in a situation where someone asked you something and you have the answer in your head, but the words just don't come out? till finally you could put all these words together in your brain and then create a sentence and say, yes, my doctor's at New York University Hospital in Manhattan. Finally, you got it out. Think of someone with dementia and they're not able to express themselves, how difficult that must be for them. Okay. Processing, you know, being able to process the facts of something, the dates of something, places, names, just processing what needs to be done next. Not only in dressing, if you're going to the senior center with them, and you know, when you go to the senior center, you have to buy a ticket for lunch, and you know, you give them the $1 to buy your ticket, and you're waiting for this person to buy that lunch ticket, and they're just standing there with the $1. They're not able to process what needs to be done next. They're not able, and that's the dementia. That's part of the brain that's not allowing them to continue. The muscle movement is gradually, you know, the loss, the inability to walk, the inability to stand, to get out of bed, and falls may occur, and that's very dangerous, okay? Because they may need more assistance, and this may be more stressful on the caregiver themselves, because now you have to assist them, and you have to make sure that either they use a walker or a cane, or a 4-prong cane, and you know, and I've seen elderly people use shopping carts now, you know, to help them walk. You know, that's very dangerous. That's very dangerous, okay? And that's not helpful to them. Giving something like that to someone with dementia is not gonna work. They're not gonna know what to do with it, and that's not what it's for, period. You know, so the stress is going to be added on the caregiver to have that responsibility to make sure that the person with dementia has the correct canes or walkers, or to meet the needs, so they will be able to walk and stand and to get around. And if a wheelchair is needed, so, you know, that's what we would need to get for the person, okay? The sensory functions, you know, affects the eyes, may lead to falls, loss of hearing, can make a person feel isolated or depressed, uncomfortable. You know, I have spoken to many caregivers, and they've said to me, my loved one doesn't want to take a shower anymore. And every time my loved one goes in for a shower, they're always fighting me. And they don't want to take a shower or a bath anymore. What do I do? You know, we have to remember that the shower and the bath is a very private time for people. And so now you're coming into my space to give me a shower or a bath. And I may not like it, but because I have a difficulty expressing that to you, I'm going to react in a combative way or push you. It's not that I don't love you or like you or appreciate you, but you're in my space. You're in my space. That's number one. Number two, it's also important that we know the person we're caring for. Now, what I mean by that is that I don't know how many people on Zoom tonight have been in a long-term relationship, but sometimes we may think that we know the person, but in actuality, we don't know. Okay, or we forget what we know about them because it may be too painful. And knowing a person's history is important to knowing how to care for them when they're ill, especially with people with dementia. Okay. So somebody that's also giving someone a difficult time bathing may not only be because you're in my space, but what has happened to that person in their childhood growing up? What was their life back like in the past for them? Like, for instance, you take someone who was in the Holocaust, telling that person they're going to take a shower may remind them of that trauma of when they were in the Holocaust. Do you think they're going to be happy to go with you to go into the shower? No, they have dementia. They have feelings and there's emotions that still come up, okay? And so you have to approach that in a different manner, okay? We have to remember a person and we have to remember a person's past and how to approach them in order to provide them the best care that we can provide them with, okay? Also, time. When we get up in the morning and we have a schedule, some people don't like to eat breakfast right away. Some people do, some people don't. Some people wait an hour before they have breakfast. Some people have to wake up and grab that cup of tea right away or that cup of coffee. That's going to start their day. And so how they start their day is very important, okay? Because they're structured that way and it's been going on for years. We need to try to remember that when we care for our loved ones, to try to keep them as happy and comfortable as possible, okay? And to make it easy for ourselves as caregivers, okay? So there are 3 stages of Alzheimer's. We have the mild or the early stage, okay? So you begin to have short-term memory loss. You have confusion in orientation to place and time, the inability to follow complex instructions, problems with money. You need encouragement, signs of lack of motivation, difficulty performing regular tasks, difficulty learning new things, poor judgment, I like the one that says, confusion in orientation to person, to place and time, when you are a caregiver and you care for someone, let me say it this way. When I was in a nursing home and I came into a room to do my programs in the morning, I never asked anyone in that room, can you tell me today's date? Could you tell me the date? Where are you? This person, I took care of people that were middle stage to late stage. But the fact of the matter that they could not remember, to me, I was going to embarrass them. And that's not what I wanted to do. I always wanted to make someone feel encouraged, a part of, that they were always right, that they were important, okay? But in the middle and early stage, you will have some people that have problems with money. And sometimes you'll say, well, when would I know this? Well, you'll know this when you go to their home and bills aren't paid. I'm all for technology. Everybody does everything online. They pay online. They do. I think that's great. Now that there's nothing wrong with that. But if your loved one is still getting mail and from, American Express or T-Mobile and their rent, that's even better, because then you could see what's really going on. Because if those bills are coming in and they're being paid, then that's fine. But if they're not being paid, you're going to begin to see that there's a change with this person. What is going on? Okay. The regular task of taking a check and writing a check out and put it in the envelope, putting the stamp on the envelope, sealing it, taken to the post office, those steps, if they're done, then your rent is paid. If they're not done, then you're going to know at what step did they no longer function. Did they stop after they wrote the date? Did they stop after they completed the entire check but didn't rip it off and put it in the envelope and then put the stamp on, seal it, and then mail it? That's when you're going to begin to see, changes in your loved one. You'll notice, oh, something's going on. Okay. The poor judgment of as well, especially with people driving, you'll begin to see that more scratches on the car, there's bumps on the car, tickets are coming in. Now if you go through a red light, especially through a school zone, you get a ticket in the mail. And and it gets to the point where you could also get some points placed on your license, so you could tell if they're going through red lights. And difficulty learning new things, even something as simple as using the remote control. Now a lot of people are streaming movies like through YouTube and all these other channels. Is the person having difficulty learning these new things? Okay. So you'll see little changes in people with the mild and early stage. In the moderate stage, the person may need more assistance with tasks, increase in personality and behavior changes, wandering, getting lost in familiar surroundings, and loss of initiative and motivation. Repetitiveness comes in, and the driving skills have changed. And it may sound like I'm being very repetitive in what I'm saying, but it's because this disease is a progressive disease, and these behaviors change constantly throughout the disease. Okay, and if it's the behavior changes, their cognition changes, their way of walking changes, their mood changes. Okay, how they were yesterday is not how they were going to be today. So in the moderate stage, they are going to need more assistance in getting dressed. Okay, in increasing the personality and behavior changes. The moods that you're going to see are like something like you're really not familiar with, and everyone is different. So in the morning, they may be one way, and then by the afternoon, they could be another. And you could get everything you want out of them in the morning, and then in the afternoon, they don't want to talk to you. They're just sitting and just being alone. And that's who they want to be for that moment. Okay. The loss of initiative and motivation, they don't want to, take a bath. Their food intake may decrease. They don't want to eat like they used to. And that's okay, because as we get older, our food intake does change. We don't have to eat 3 meals a day. We could eat 6 to 8. It could be small portions. The important thing is that the person gets something to eat and something to drink, you know? And when people are in the moderate stage, caregivers, you know, pick and choose your battles, you know, as long as the person is eating something. So if they want a peanut butter sandwich for breakfast with a cup of coffee, so be it. So be it. You know, if they want to take, you know, their oatmeal and some ice cream and put it in, so be it. You know, people's palates change and people change as long as they're eating. The repetitiveness comes in. So we're going to church. You didn't give me anything to eat. Well, you didn't give me anything to eat. I didn't eat it. Okay. And, you know, that becomes annoying, and caregivers have to take a deep breath to that. And they have to allow the person to be. And if you don't answer them once or twice, that's okay for yourself, because you have to come back to a position where when you hear that repetition, you could answer them and just keep going. Because if you get into an argument as to, I did give you that cup of water, you just ate a peanut butter sandwich, all it's going to cause is an argument between me and you. And that's not going to be healthy for you nor me. And so now I'm angry. Okay, now I'm angry and I'm going to react. And what am I going to do? I'm going to get up and I'm going to wander. Okay, I am going to wander, because sometimes people, not sometimes, people with dementia or Alzheimer's, they're not able to verbalize their needs and wants. And we have to remember that always, okay? And in the moderate stage, people will wander and they will get lost in their familiar surroundings. And you have to ask yourself, in your own community, when you go outside, how much has my community changed in the last 6 years or in the last 3 months? One day there's a scaffold, the next day there isn't. One day the tree that was there for the longest time is gone. Now you have Con Edison working on gas lines and there's all this new stuff in the neighborhood. What am I doing? There's construction all over the neighborhood, there's confusion that's in my community that used to be so nice and calm. So here is somebody with dementia, goes outside, used to go to the bodega down the block to get some coffee and Italian bread, and all of a sudden the bodega is not there no more, or it's still there, but maybe there's like a smoke shop next to it or something, because they're popping up everywhere, and person is confused now, you know, and they wander and they get lost in a familiar surrounding, something that had not changed in years until recent. Okay, so that's what happens in the moderate stage. In the late stage, they're no longer able to move around on their own. They're bedbound, they're incontinent, they're unable to communicate. They do need 24-hour care to ensure the best quality of life. As a recreational therapist, I remember providing a lot of music and tactile stimulation. We're never too old or too sick or too far gone in life for someone just to touch us and to hold us. I used to hold their hands. I used to give them manicures. I used to put their hands in warm water and wash it and just push their cuticle back with some cream, just give them a nice manicure like that and just rub their hands. I used to comb their hair in the front and I used to talk to them, you know, and sometimes we had talking books from the library and I used to put that on for them. And they didn't respond verbally, but I got groans. So I knew they were listening. I knew something was getting through. So let us never forget that some tactile stimulation does go a long way. Okay. So wandering. Yeah. Wandering is life-threatening behavior. It is. It really, really is. And we believe that when it's caused by aggression and confusion, and it stems from a lot of loneliness, not getting a need met, okay, not able to verbalize what that need is that they want and they're not getting, okay. Knowing that there's been a change in my life, but I can't talk about it, and I don't understand what's going on, and I'm feeling alone because people are treating me different. Things are different around me now, okay? And that brings sadness to someone who's diagnosed with dementia, because it is important to feel like I belong, that I am connected to you, and that I am safe. But if I'm feeling, distant and lonely, then I'm not going to get that reassurance, okay? But wandering is life-threatening, because a person with dementia that walks out of their home has no judgment and no understanding of where they're going. They may wear glasses and forget to put their glasses on and not see a pothole and fall into a pothole, okay? They may not see, if they don't put on their shoes before they leave the house, they may not realize there's glass on the floor and step into glass outside, okay? If you live in an area where it's suburban and the person wanders into the woods, you don't know what kind of animals are out in the woods that could hurt this person. So it is life-threatening behavior, okay? So a lot of people, like they say, like, what is wandering? So wandering, we have down, is moving about under one's own volition into unsafe situations while experiencing an impaired cognitive status. They're gonna run, they're gonna go. Some of the characteristics are, occurring without apparent regard of environment. When you have dementia, you have no understanding of your surroundings. You don't know if it's hot or cold out there, okay? Tonight, you look out the window, there's no rain, there's no snow, but you don't know what the temperature is. This person may decide to walk out and it could be 0 degrees outside with no coat, no hat, no shoes, no gloves, frostbite. They wander. It's dangerous, okay? They have no clue of the hazards, okay? Not only with wild animals, but with potholes, or crossing the street and not stopping at the red light, and someone's making a left turn on their car and bang, they get hit, okay? No constraints of the hazards of that. If you see a red light, you have to stop. No. Going into others' territory, okay? Now, I'm gonna share a couple of stories with you, and I'm not gonna share their name, but they're real stories that have occurred. So Mr. J went missing, okay? And he went missing from Brooklyn, and he wound up in Queens. And Mr. J apparently found a house that had the same appearance of his house. And so what did Mr. J do? I found this really fascinating because I don't leave my front door open, but this home had their front door open. And so Mr. James opened the door, went into the living room and sat down and made himself at home. So now the owner of the house comes down and sees him there. And according to her, she says to me, Elizabeth, he was just sitting there. you know, he was very calm. And I said hello to him. He goes, hi. And he just sat there. And she said, he was very, very, very calm. And she found that to be a strange. So what she did, she called 911 and the police came. And so they spoke to him. And then they were able to call his wife on the phone and she spoke to him and then they took him home. But entering into others' territory. Now, thank God this was a really nice lady. What if he would have opened the door to someone else's house and they weren't so nice? So, you know, it's dangerous. That's part of wandering and the danger of wandering, okay? And not only that, you know, they could find themselves down in the train tracks too, you know, going into the trains and just wandering onto tracks and all that is dangerous. Paying attention to no traffic, just going, I'm gonna walk and I'm gonna go, you know, and again, you know, not only today do we have to be careful with cars and trucks and buses, what about those e-bikes? They go, whew, they'll knock anybody down. So you have to pay attention to traffic. Having no specific destination. People sometimes who wander don't have a specific destination. They just want to go. Others do. Others are looking for a place. Others are looking for a past place, like their home, their childhood home. And sometimes their childhood home is very far. I had a situation a couple of months ago. A gentleman from Regal Park went missing. And when I had a conversation with his wife, she said to me, he keeps talking about the house where we raised the children. It was a summer house we used to go to. I said, wow, the summer house, that must have been nice. And where was this summer house? And she said, up in Mills, New York. Never heard of it.
So the caring kind.
So
That's
can you please mute? Thank you. So I said, Mills, New York, that's interesting. And so I shared that with the police department and we stretched out our search and lo and behold, the gentleman was located in Syracuse, New York. He found his way to go all the way up to Syracuse, New York. Okay, and when they found him, and a very nice Good Samaritan found him, what happened was that we kind of figured out he got up there by bus. How he did it, don't know. Okay, he was walking on the street and he fainted in front of a store, and Good Samaritan dialed 911, and they took him to St. Joseph's Hospital. But when they got him, you know, settled and he was able to verbalize a little, he kept saying, Mills, Mills, Mills. And they didn't know. But when the wife came, she said to them, well, Mills is where it's the place where we were, our home was.
You good, Granny? You need anything?
Can you
You
please
need
mute
anything?
yourself? Can you please mute yourself? Thank you, sweetheart. Where we raised our children, and he kept talking about Mills, New York. So he winds up going up to Syracuse. And I was like so taken back. So, you know, having no specific destination, but sometimes there is a specific destination and they will go, okay? As the next one says, an inappropriate destination as a childhood home. That wasn't his childhood home, but it was the place where he remembered good times with his children and his wife and his family, okay? Occurring in individuals who have other signs of confusion, such as memory loss and disorientation. And, you know, wandering could occur anytime, even if a person is in their early stages still, because there's so much going on with them, you know, so much of not understanding the changes in their life. that alone could make them confused and just not remember, to take one train or make a left on one block or go into a certain building as well. Okay. So I apologize for those red lines. I don't know why that's coming up. So 6 in 10 people living with dementia will wander at least once. Many do repeatedly. Although common, wandering can be dangerous, even life-threatening, and the stress of wandering weighs heavily on caregivers and families. Now, I don't know if anyone on Zoom tonight has experienced that as a caregiver has gone through a wandering incident, but it is stressful, the unknown. And even though we try to think the best, the worst thoughts come in. You know what? Are they dead? Is someone taking advantage of them? Will I ever find the person? These are real things that come up. Will I ever find the person? When would I find him? Did he eat? They didn't have no money. They didn't have no clothes. They left with one slipper. Where are they? They haven't taken their medications. They need their medicine. And you worry. And not only that, what I have found with caregivers is that there's a little guilt that comes in. What did I do wrong? I shouldn't have gone to wash my hair and taken a shower at this time. I should have waited. Or I shouldn't have taken him with me to the salon to get my hair done. Or, I should have, would have, could have paid more attention, done more. Caregivers are doing the best that they can. The best that they can. When a person wants to wander, they're going to wander if they want to wander because they're fast. Okay, they're fast. All right. I just had an incident last week where the daughter, very high-tech girl, she has all these cameras in her house. She speaks to her mother through some microphone. She says it was working well. And her mother wandered out the house. Okay, she wandered with one slipper on and not dressed correctly. Okay, and so she was found 3 days later. And it so happened that when she found her, she was clothed. Somebody gave her sneakers, somebody gave her clothes, they gave her food while she was in the streets. Because we do have good New Yorkers and good people in our community, but it is dangerous, okay? And the caregiver, she was feeling like so guilty, but she's like, I'm at work, what am I gonna do? I have to work. So I have all this technology to help me, but yet it was very stressful on her and on her family, okay? Families are real good to point the finger. One thing I say a lot is, one mother could take care of 13 children, but 13 children can't take care of one mother. And everybody points of what you should and should not do. But when you need a container of milk, who's at the door saying, hey, what do you need? I could go shopping. Everybody disperses. So caregivers, you're doing one hell of a job, okay? And I'm glad that you're here with me tonight. I hope that I am opening up your vision to something new or something different. So we're here for you. I'm saying that to say that we're here for you. Like I mentioned before, you need to know the person that you live with because there are different wandering patterns, which are very interesting. The exit seeker. So the exit seeker, they're the person they're trying to leave all the time. And the reason for leaving may be very, but their immediate goal is to go out the door. Okay, so they're looking to leave. So they're watching. So when I worked in a nursing home, there was this gentleman and he loved to smoke all the time. So he was always watching when we were leaving the room because he wanted to go behind us and go down the steps and out the building to smoke cigarettes. So we really had to watch him. And they will go. They will go. The akathisias are restless, aimless movers who pace or gadget, whose wandering is often secondary to prolonged use of psychotropic medications, as frequently occurs in the chronically mental ill. Now, when you're mixing medications, you know, that sometimes could exacerbate certain behavior patterns and make you more agitated to the point where you want to get up and wander, okay? And medications affect everyone different. It's always important for you to please tell the doctor what medications you're on. I personally, I walk around with a list of whatever medications I'm taking. And you should do so as well. Caregivers should do it, and you should have one for your loved one. Write a small little list of the name and the dose and carry that around with you, okay? The self-stimulators may go to the door and turn the knob, but the purpose is to provide stimulation rather than exit. So they'll just go and play with the knob and come back. And it's basically that. They want to be stimulated. They want something to do. Okay, there are some people that you constantly could keep busy. So when I was in a nursing home and I was doing arts and crafts and I would make a mess, we would have little cards that had construction paper and pens and all the stuff on the card. There was a woman that I used to ask her, can you please come and organize this for me? Because I had to keep her busy, you know, really busy, because she was that kind of person. She needed something to do. If she didn't have something to do, she was going to try to find her way out down the hall somewhere. And I didn't want that to happen. So I kept her busy. And it's good because, you know, I kept her busy, and then she got tired enough and she sat down. So I stimulated her enough to calm her down. She sat down, and now we can move on to the next activity. Okay. So think of that as a caregiver when you're cooking and you're chopping onions or peppers. As long as you're there supervising the person with dementia, they could cut onions and peppers, or stir, if you're making a curry, stir the flour, or if you're there, you know, they could wash dishes or dry dishes or put dishes away, okay? You know, and that's a good opportunity too that you could take if someone is not eating or drinking to stay hydrated. So if you're cutting up like fruit, watermelon, or vegetables like broccoli and celery, let them taste it. Let them put some of that in their mouth and, you know, eat it, because at least they're getting some water and nourishments in their body. The modelers are simply to follow others around. If the person they follow walks inside the building, they will stay inside. But if the person they follow exits, they would do so as well. And I had people like that in the nursing home as well. Everywhere I went, they would follow me. And if they had the opportunity to go out that patio door and keep going, they would do so. They just want something to do. We have to remember that some people's lifestyles, what did they do as profession? When was their busy time of the day? And so we had to provide recreation for them to give them that stimulation. So if this person was following me because they wanted to go out that patio door, well, maybe it's because the person really got up every day and enjoyed going outside. Maybe, you know, they went to the post office or to work or to the bakery or to the park to do exercise. Exercise is a great stimulator, and it also exhausts people. So what we started to do at the nursing home is take the residents outside and do outdoor exercise. So this way they were getting fresh air and being stimulated also in the sun, getting some vitamin D and getting tired. And we were able to give them fruit and water and hydrate them. And, when they went back inside, they would tell us, oh, that feels good. We feel better, because they were outdoors, So, you have to know the person. And when you see these little patterns, so if you see that the person is going to the door and turning the doorknob, or if you see that the person is seeking to leave, if you're seeing that this behaviors are coming up with the person, with your loved one, then you need to take a quick assessment and say, what haven't we done lately that they may be missing? What is going on with my loved one that their behavior is getting this way? When was the last time we went out? Have we been out? Well, if it's rained 4 days in a row and you've stayed home 3, you may want to look at that. You may want to get dressed and take the person out for fresh air. Okay. So, you always have to take an assessment of what's going on in the home. Okay. Reasons for wandering: a desire to fulfill a need, boredom. People get bored. I get bored, you get bored, right? When we're bored, we do something, right? We get up, we go out. Some of us do that. Some of us like cleaning, reading, dancing. Some of us just like maybe to take a 5-minute nap, 20-half-hour nap if we're bored. Maybe that's a desire. They need some sleep, okay? Change of environment. Change of environment is always very big for me because I have a lot of incidents of people that went missing, and the caregiver would say to me, children always want to do the best for their parents or grandparents or aunts and uncles. And the caregiver would say to me, Miss Santiago, I brought them over to my house because my house is big and they have a room with their own bathroom. And, I have 2 kids and there's a dog and there's people here for them. Well, that's all. That's great. That is great and very lovely. But it's a change of an environment and they don't recognize this environment. They don't recognize the people. They're not familiar with the dog. So now you've taken someone who's lived in an apartment for the longest and has the same people coming to the house every day, maybe, a brother and their wife, and that's it. And now you feel that it's time to lift this person up and bring him to your house to live. Well, the thought is very nice, but it's not very helpful for someone with dementia because they're accustomed to where they are. An unfamiliar place is going to rattle them and it's going to make them agitated and want to wander. Okay. People, places, objects. Okay. Fear arising for the misinterpretation of sights and sound. Very important. Here is when, I say to caregivers, you really have to think about, do I want to leave this person alone while I run downstairs to get the load of wash that's only 2 flights down? You have to think about making a move like that before you do something, okay? The fear arising from misinterpretations of sights and sounds. Now, anything could happen. Sometimes a car goes by and there's a big backfire of a car. Now, if your loved one has been in the military and he or she sees that, hears that rather, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to get scared. They're going to get scared and you're not around. And because you just went downstairs to get the laundry. And what are they going to do? They're going to go right out that front door. They're going to take cover because they're going to go back into the time of when they were either in a war and there was bombs going on and they're going to run for their life out that door. Okay. So a caregiver has to think really, really hard when they decide that they're going to leave their loved one alone in the house while they run to do an errand. Okay. not only, noise, but, sight, what is it that they see or outside, or they don't see you around. They're asleep. Okay, I'm gonna leave now to, go get that container of milk. They get up, there's nobody around. That's very fearful, okay? If there was a fire, you have to ask yourself, if there was a fire in this building where I live, or if you live in the house next door, and the fire department comes now, you and I don't know if anyone on Zoom has experienced this, but when the fire department comes to your house and they bang on that door, they don't knock, they go boom, 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 boom. And that sound will jolt you. Just to think, if you have dementia and you hear that and you, the caregiver, are not around, okay? The person may get up, open the door, fire department says, let's go. They may go, walk right out, okay, and walk and wander away, okay? But at the other hand, they may not. They may open up the door and tell the police officer or the fire department, the fireman, no, I'm not going. When someone with dementia sees a person in a uniform, that could be very scary for them. They could identify it with some kind of past trauma. They could identify it as, if they were a police officer, they could salute an officer like, yes, Sergeant, I'm a sergeant, or you don't tell me what to do. That person could get into a position as who they used to be as a sergeant or as a captain. And what is that going to cause? A combativeness between an emergency responder and someone with dementia. So again, leaving with someone with dementia alone while you go to run an errand, you need to think about that, because it's not safe at all, okay? And they will want, okay? Looking for a place, person, thing, looking for a home, wanting to go pick up the grandchildren. Maybe your loved one has always picked up grandchildren from school, and all of a sudden they feel like, oh, I gotta go get Betsy from school, and I gotta go now. And you're like, no, Betsy's not in school anymore. Betsy's working. No. If it comes down to that, you tell them, okay, you want to go get Betsy? All right, where are we going to get Betsy from? Let them tell you, school, what school we're going to? Okay, all right, so we have to go get our coats. They may say something to you like, coats, I don't need a coat. Yeah, it's cold out. Let's get our coats and we'll go together. And this is not an action that you have to do real fast. You take your time, but you continue to have the conversation with the person to the point where, they may not want to go. And so you'll suppress him or her from wandering, okay? Another trigger for wandering is the change in medication. I just had an incident 2 days ago, not 2 days ago, on Thursday. The woman left her house, one slipper, a blouse, a skirt, and she wandered out the house, and it was a change in medication. She took the medication, but apparently the dose wasn't proper, and it interacted with the other medications that she was taking. And the daughter told me she became very agitated and aggressive. And you have to remember, people with dementia have a difficulty sharing their needs and their wants and expressing themselves, but they express themselves through wandering. And that's exactly what this person did. Okay. Dehydration, constipation, vision pain, and pain. These are things that bother people's body. Think about it yourself. When you're thirsty, you want to drink. When you're hungry, I know for me, when I'm hungry, I'm very moody. You got to give me something to eat. If not, I'm moody, okay? Constipation, if you don't go regularly, it's bothersome. It's painful. It hurts. Okay. We have to remember to stay hydrated and to eat foods that are very high in fiber. And if this person has always had a history of constipation, if you know this, then try to find different ways to give them different kind of foods so they could have the right consumption of fiber. It's really important. Vision, if you've always worn glasses, first of all, clean your lenses. Okay, I know a lot of people that never clean their lenses. When I was in a nursing home, they would take their glasses off with their greasy hands. Make sure the lenses, first of all, are always clean. Take them to the doctor, get their vision checked, especially if the person has a history of glaucoma. Glaucoma, causes, you get blurriness. Sometimes you very dry-eyed eyes, and they become very itchy, and they may need some kind of drops, over-the-counter drops. But you take them to the doctor so they could get their eyes checked out. Okay, pain. People that have dementia get pain, but again, they can't verbalize their pain. So let's take something as simple as bunions. Many people have bunions, but if the shoes that they're wearing are not fitting them correct, the rubbing of the shoe on that bunion can make it very painful for them. Okay, and they may react. How do they react? They don't wear their shoes. I don't want to wear shoes. They take them off. Another thing is ingrown toenails are the same way. Take the person to the foot doctor to get their toenails clipped. Very important. The hitting of a toenail on the sneaker is very painful for someone. If not, they're going to react. Pain in general could be a toothache. What about people that have issues with their ears, that have buildup of wax? That could be very painful and annoying, because not only is the buildup of wax painful and annoying, but the way I hear you speak to me is, who wants to hear someone speak like that? So I'm not able to verbalize my needs to you, but what am I going to do? I'm going to react, because I can't tell you my ears are bothering me, okay? So I'm going to want. So, it's very important to keep an assessment of when the person goes to the doctor. The updated appointments must be kept. The list of medications should always be written down somewhere for yourself when you go to the doctor. Even if you go to the eye doctor, you need to let them know, okay? Safety, driving, smoking, guns, bow shooting sports, dart, fencing, blowguns, knives, all these things, all these firearms are very, very dangerous. If you have any of these in your home, please, let's put them in a secure place, okay? And again, I have in the bottom, is it safe to leave the person alone? Okay, no, it's not. If there's guns in the house, first of all, we want to get rid of them. Okay, how do we get rid of a gun? Well, one, you could call up your local precinct, speak to community affairs. Tell them you have a gun in your house, or years ago you did fencing and you have these swords and you want to get rid of them, right? They'll tell you what to do. They'll come over. You could do a buyback. You could sometimes, the city council or the community affairs officers will tell you there's a buyback going on. You could send it, you could bring it in and get money for it. But ask your community affairs officer, okay? If you say to yourself, no, we have this gun, but I really want it. I don't want to get rid of it. So I was at a health fair the other day, and the VA hospital, the VA was there, and they were giving out these locks. These are locks for the gun. So you put this, or where you put the bullets in, there's a little like arch and you run it through there and then you lock it. And then you lock it with your key. You could do that until you make a decision. So there are locks available to lock guns safely in the house. But if you're not comfortable, do call your community council or your community affairs officer at your local precinct and talk to them. They would tell you what to do. Okay, driving. People with dementia, I highly suggest that, and this is not only for people with dementia, I just think drivers who drive now, talk about, as I get older, with your children, as I get older, what plan of action do I want you to take about getting me around if I can't drive anymore? This is a big issue because if you allow a person with dementia to drive, they may go up a one-way street and, not only hurt themselves, but hurt someone else. And we wouldn't want that to happen. Okay, so driving is a big issue. I know here at Caring Kind, we do have literature about driving. If you need some of this literature, you can let us know. You could either go on our website or we could mail it to you. They may need to take a test to see how well their driving is or isn't, because, some of our loved ones are tough and they want to do things their own way. And sometimes you have to do it that way. Okay, let's go get tested. Let's go to the doctors. And, you could go see, I think it's an occupational therapist that is the one that could really define your motor skills and see how well you can or cannot drive. Smoking. I'm not a smoker, but I can tell you not to or to. This is something you like doing. Smoking can be done under supervision. You don't leave cigarettes and matches or lighters around so the person could smoke while they're in bed. They could, something horrible could happen. That's a huge safety issue. If they want to smoke cigarettes, then, give them that time. Let them smoke a cigarette if they want, okay? And then, monitor the cigarettes. You hold them. Don't give them to the person, definitely. And don't give them to the person because they don't need matches. They could just go to the stove and turn on the stove and light up a cigarette there. So be very careful with smoking because that could definitely be a hazard. Fires, okay? Again, you leave someone alone at home. This is definitely a safety issue because if the fire department comes and knocks on the door, that person could just walk out the door and wander or not even want to leave. So, they have to be supervised in order to leave the house if there is a fire. And, it could be very, very disheartening at times because it could be very hard for a caregiver to remove their loved one from the home under these pressures because remember, everybody's adrenaline is up and running, and now you have to find the time to say, John, come on, we have to get up and go. There is a fire. And John may have been in a fire when he was a kid and it could have been devastating. So, he may be thinking more of that time than the present. And you now have to talk to John and reassure John that he's going to be okay and that you're with him and we're going to go together. And sometimes mentioning a person's name, someone that they love and they're familiar with, maybe a granddaughter, come on, Betsy's waiting for us. Let's go see Betsy. She's waiting for us. Let's go see her. That may change their behavior and they could get up and go. But it's dangerous because they also, if you leave someone alone in the house and they decide they want a cup of tea, they may go put the tea kettle on, turn on the stove and, go watch television and forget the kettle is on and burn the pot. And hopefully that's the only thing they burn, okay? They could fall right in the house. That's a huge safety issue, falls. not only because they're unsteady gait, but sometimes we have these little rugs laying around the house and we trip over them. Okay, so here you have somebody with an unsteady gait with these small little rugs around the house, and now they're tripping and hurting themselves. So falls can occur, and that's a safety issue. Always have an emergency plan. That's always important to have an emergency plan. Make sure that you have a go-to bag. It may sound silly, but it's important. Have your phones charged, have money, have cash. In an emergency, you need cash. Sometimes these debit and credit cards, they don't work. You need cash. Make sure, your Metro card, it has money. Make sure that not only that your cell phone is charged, but make sure that you're taking your medications with you, okay? Also, it's good to share. I know a lot of caregivers are very quiet and they don't want neighbors to know what's going on, but sometimes it is good to share with a neighbor that your loved one has been diagnosed with this disease, because if there is an emergency and you need to get out, it's good for somebody to know where you have gone to in case one of your loved ones come around and ask, hey, did you see my mom and dad? Where did they go? Or if you leave the house with your loved one and for some reason there's a separation, because God forbid the caregiver falls and hurts themselves and gets separated from the person with dementia, and then all of a sudden the person with dementia is coming back to the house and the neighbor sees him or her and says, hey, where's your wife? So at least a neighbor knows what was your plan of action. Okay, you're leaving here to go to, your daughter's house, your sister's house, somewhere else. So always think twice about leaving someone with dementia alone. Think twice, okay? Sundowning does occur in people with dementia, and this is basically, so persons living with Alzheimer's or dementia may have problems sleeping or experiencing increased confusion, anxiety, agitation, pacing, and disorientation. And it begins at dusk and continuing throughout the night. And it's a behavior and personality change. The way they were in the morning is no longer the way they were at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. They're changing. All day they were very nice with you and anything you wanted to do, they did. But all of a sudden they're looking at you like you had 3 heads, like, hey, listen, don't bother me anymore. You've been pestering me all day, and I don't want to listen to you. I don't want to be with you, and there's a behavior that changes. Okay. So, you need to, and sometimes what happens too, they want to go pick up the kids. And I keep bringing that up because that's what I get a lot of, when people go missing. Oh, he was talking about picking up the kids or going to see his mother, but his mother or father have been dead for about 20 years, okay, and going to work. These are 3 big things that I hear all the time. Kids, grandkids, going to see someone at a cemetery, and going to work, okay? So, when that happens, you have to, try to talk to the person, bring them back, try to reduce their agitation and anxiety. You may have to put on your hat and coat and take them out for a little walk, okay? If it so happens that they have their coat on and they're 10 feet in front of you and they're moving, you know what? Always be ready. If there's nothing you learn here tonight, you always make sure you have a go bag. Because if you have to get up and run, you don't want to start looking for shoes, socks, pants, belt, money, car keys. I have to call somebody. I don't have my phone charge, you want to be able to get up and go and follow this person because they're going to go. So you always have to remember that. You have to be ready. And if it means following them, then you follow them until they calm down and you're able to bring them back. Okay. And then, try not to overstimulate them. Sometimes the increase of confusion is overstimulation. Like, during the holidays, we put up all these lights, right? They're beautiful. Blinking lights are beautiful. But if you look at blinking lights after a while, they throw you off. It's like, oh, okay, like, can we turn off the blinkers? Just leave them playing and just let them, okay? Overstimulating people, a lot of music, a lot of people, now 4th of July, Memorial Day is coming up. So we're having barbecues, all this, party and playing dominoes and cards, all these loud noise. It's nice to be around people, but that overstimulates people, and people with dementia react. It's too much for them, okay? And they get agitated, all right? And in this case, with sundown, and people will begin to pace, and they become more disoriented, and they make that move to wander, all right? So when people wander, the police have a couple of things they will be doing. A lot of caregivers always say to me, they're not doing anything. I call them, nothing is being done. So a police officer will come to the scene of the incident, but you as a caregiver, number one, like any incident that may happen, you dial 911 and you tell the operator, my loved one has dementia and they have wandered, okay? And you stay where that person wandered. You don't move from there. You stay there until the police come. If you call 911 and they don't come within 15 minutes, you can call again in 15 minutes. And you tell them, I called in before and to report my loved one missing, okay? And you go through all the questions again. But what's happening is that once it goes into 911, a police officer will come to the scene of the incident, okay? You are allowed to write down the badge number and the name of the officer. So don't hesitate not to do that. That's important. And ask them what precinct they're from, okay? Because wherever the person goes missing from, that's the police department that's going to come to the scene, okay? And if let's just say you're at Macy's Harold Square on 34th Street, and your loved one goes missing from there, you dial 911. So Midtown South will come to Macy's, okay? So Midtown South is on 35th Street, okay? And so that precinct will come. You don't go if you live up in the Bronx and you live on 215 Alexander Avenue. That's the 40th precinct location. You don't go up there to report your loved one missing. Don't do that. You stay right where you are and you report it from there, okay? That's real important. And you can take down the police information, their name and their badge number, okay? Ask them what precinct they're from. They could be transit or housing or local. So again, if you're on the train and the person goes missing from the train station, that's where you call 911 from. That's transit police will come, okay? And then if it's housing, if you live in the projects in New York City, you have New York City housing officers, the PSA, public service officers will come, okay? And you do the same thing, name and number, all right? Be prepared to provide the officer with a picture and description. Now, nowadays, the big thing is selfie. Everybody takes selfie all the time. Get in the habit when you're with your loved one every day, take a selfie, especially if you're going out. I don't care if you're going to mass, shopping, wherever, take a selfie, okay? Because sometimes under a crisis, caregivers get very, very, very nervous, and you're not going to remember what they have on. But if you have a picture, you could say, we took this picture this morning, this is what they're wearing. And so the officer could take that picture, transfer it to his phone, and expedite it throughout the 5 boroughs quicker, okay? If the person is enrolled with the Wanderer Safety Program, give them the information of the Wanderer Safety Program, tell them they're wearing a bracelet, okay? The police will canvass the area, they will visit hospitals, and then the incident would be turned over to the detectives unit. Everyone is assigned a detective when it's a special missing category case. They would create a poster and they would distribute that poster. If your loved one is not found within 24 hours, you could go to the precinct and ask for that poster and hang it up in your community. But then when the person is found, you have to remove it, okay? The police would also activate a silver alert, okay? Know your local precinct. That's very important, just in case the person goes missing from out of territory, from a different neighborhood, different precinct. You know your precinct because that report will have to now go to your precinct. Okay, so the Medical Alert Wanderer Safety Program is for persons and caregivers. Okay, so persons with dementia and their caregivers. So we provide also a bracelet for the caregivers that say, I care for someone who's memory impaired. So in the event that something happens to the caregivers, we'll know that this person is caring for someone that's memory impaired. So where is that person? So Medical Alert, so the Medical Alert Wanderer Safety Program is a 24-hour nationwide emergency response service which aids in finding persons who wander locally or far from home or have a medical emergency. Though extensive outreach in the community, we build awareness about Alzheimer's disease and dementia, our programs and services, and the importance of enrollment in this life-threatening program. Once enrolled, the person with dementia receives a bracelet with a Medical Alert toll-free number and the client's name, and becomes part of a nationwide database with a specialized 24/7 response service. So the de facto medical record, which includes such critical information as medical conditions, life-threatening allergies, and emergency contacts, are all included in the client's records. There is an option to include an advanced directive, and family caregivers can also enroll into the program. Okay, and this program, we have scholarships available through a city council discretionary money and grants that we receive from funders. Okay, it is, as a matter of fact, I don't know if you could see it. I know the picture was up there, but this is exactly what it looks like. It's just low tech. The caduceus is in red, and then in the back we engrave the person's name and give them the numerical code. Okay. Safety tips to prevent wandering: small locks on high or low doors. So real small $2 locks put up there. Be careful with self-closing gates. I'm referring to the gates that people put in the window. If you want to put gates in the window, you got to go to speak to somebody in the fire department, and also call your community affairs office about that. Just don't put up any gate. Just don't do that because it's a fire hazard. Purchases or latches that cannot be released by pulling or shaking the gate. Key latch for added security. So some of these gates, you have to leave the key in there, but that could be dangerous as well, because sometimes, you know, if someone with dementia wants to go down the fire escape, they could open that and walk out. So be very careful with those gates. See the fire department and go speak to the community affairs. You can camouflage doors with curtains to prevent wandering. So if you have a beige wall, you could either put a beige curtain there, or you could get like a pretty curtain with a nice design to make it look like a nice big picture in front of the door. You could do that, okay? You could also put black mats in front of the door because that gives an illusion as though there's a hole on the floor and people with dementia will stand back to that, okay? Fire escapes, window gates, and security bars must be approved by the New York City Fire Department. Don't put anything on those windows unless the New York City Fire Department approves it. We do have a pamphlet about the Alzheimer's store. You can either go on our website or we can mail you one, but this is on our website. They offer a lot of devices that could also help you, okay? Remember, whatever device you use or what you plan to do, it has to be safe, that if there's a fire and you need to get out, that you could get out safe, okay? It's not about locking yourself down and not being able to see the world anymore. That's not it. It's about safety. And we're talking about gates in the patio, gates in front of the house, the back door. Be careful with boilers. Be careful with incinerator doors. Be careful with basements. Any crawl spots, okay, that could be under the house or even up in the attic. Be careful with ladders that come down that, you know, someone with Alzheimer's could pull it down, pull it up, and they could be up in the attic and, you know, you wouldn't know. So be careful with that. And of course, the Medical Alert Wanderer Safety Identification Bracelet, all right? One thing I will say with the Medical Alert bracelet, encourage the person to wear the bracelet, okay? It may be difficult at first, but if you get a granddaughter to give it to them or a good friend, maybe the barber, the guy at the barber shop, they'll put it on. There is a clasp, it's very difficult to open. So you have to put this bracelet on the dominant hand. So righty, righty, lefty, lefty, okay? Make sure it fits, not tight, not too snugly, but enough that it could be seen if you're wearing a long sleeve shirt or a coat, okay? A caregiver, the same thing. You could offer you could get a bracelet yourself. Always remember, I always tell everybody, presentation is the key factor here. How you give it to the person, that's how they would wear it. You know, they'll be happy. A little cake, a little balloon, oh, you're special, but not you, somebody else that they like and somebody, you know, they've known for a long time. It's important. It's important. Be prepared for a wandering incident. Be proactive. Don't waste time. Make sure you have a flashlight, appropriate clothing, umbrella, coats, sneakers, etc. Have your cell phone, wallet, some cash, eyeglasses, keys, the things you need. The things you need. Always keep a current photo of the person. Call your point of contact, family, friend, neighbor. If somebody goes missing, make that call. Say, look, you know, Johnny left. I'm going out to look for him. I've called the cops. Can you please stay by my door in case they come back? You know, for me to tell you not to leave and not to go and look for the person, that's sometimes falls on dead ears, because if I was in your shoes, I would be out there as well. But do wait for the police to come, because they could come back with it. Because once you put the call into 911, it activates throughout the community there. They have NCO, and these NCOs are police officers who walk the beat in the community, okay? Steps to take during a wandering incident: search the immediate area. If not found, with 7 to 10 minutes, dial 911. Remain at the location where the person went missing from. Be prepared to inform 911 operator with the person's diagnosis, how the person is traveling, foot, you know, foot, car, wheelchair. Let them know if the person is driving, the model, license plate, easy pass number. Know your easy pass number. And if they go missing while you're on the train, every train card has numbers on both sides. There are a couple of about 4 or 5 numbers. Try to look at those numbers and give the numbers of that card to the police officer, because that would be helpful. And remain calm as much as possible. I know I talked about the bracelet and the devices that the Alzheimer's store have. But I know sometimes people say like, what about GPS? You have anything with technology? There's a lot of GPS products out there you could get. But you have to do homework, okay? And you have to consider the type of device you want, the monthly fees, any additional features that you may have to purchase that's going to cost money, and what exactly does the GPS capabilities, what does it really do? It could do a lot, but does that mean I have to pay that much? So what you pay for is what you get, okay? I do want to say this. So there is Project Lifesaver. I don't know if anyone on Zoom has heard of Project Lifesaver. New York doesn't have Project Lifesaver. They're up in Westchester County. But for anyone who is a snowbird that may go down south for the winter, Project Lifesaver also offers an identification bracelet. And for them, it's free, okay? They get monies. And so what happens? So if you're from New York, I'll say Florida. So if you're a snowbird and you go to Florida, you could go into Project Lifesaver's website and look for, find an agency through a zip code. So you put in the zip code of the house you live in there in Florida. A zip code comes up. When that agency pops up, you call them up and you say to them, hi, my name is Elizabeth. My sister Jenny has Alzheimer's, and I would like to register her into Project Lifesaver. So while I'm here in Florida, she could wear an identification bracelet. So that Project Lifesaver will be a second measure to our Medical Alert Wanderer Safety Program bracelet. Because once you leave Project of Florida, Project Lifesaver will not be working here in New York, because we don't have that system here in New York, okay? So, but if you're a snowbird and you're in Florida, then you could register if there's an agency nearby. And they're all over the country. They're all over the country. So, and they work, and what they do is they would ask you questions, and you're gonna, I think, need a picture, and they'll put that in their system. Okay, so let's just say if you're in Florida and you decide to go to Disney, you let them know, Project Lifesaver, I'm taking a trip with Disney with my grandchildren. They'll send that information to the police in Disney, okay? And so God forbid that that person goes wandering in Disney, it would activate in Disney. So, if you go downtown to Georgia, or down south to Georgia, Virginia, I know Florida definitely, but some of the states down south, you could call a Project Lifesaver. Look into it if you're traveling and, or if you're a snowbird and you're down there for a couple of months, okay? Caregivers, my friend Michelle, my coworker, when I started to do this, she shared this with me, and it just threw me for a loop. And I said to her, I said, this would be great to share with caregivers. Thank you. So take care of yourself. It's important to take care of you yourself, your spiritually, mentally, and emotionally, because caring for others is very draining. And maybe joining a support group would help. Focus on care, not cure. Focus on the here and now. We are powerless and cannot change the diagnosis. We cannot change it. We can only have a different approach as to how to handle the situation, okay? Work to be in the moment, and that could be a challenge. Should have, would have, could have, living in the past is very draining on one's body. Try not to go into the past, and try not to look into the future, because no one knows but our higher power what is in store for us. Staying in the present, living 1 minute at a time, helps to reduce our fears. and reduces our anxiety. Keep it in the moment. Express your feelings appropriate. Keep it in the eye, okay? And if there's a situation where you have to express your feelings to the person, don't make it the person feel as though you don't care. Be careful with body language and words. You know, sometimes we can be so overwhelmed and so tired that, you know, our loved one could come and give us a hug or give us a pinch somewhere, and we're like, you know, think twice before you react, you know, make it a moment, treasure that moment. If it's a touch, a hug, something that they haven't done for you or to you in a very long time, hold on to that moment. Accept compliments, you know, seek to find meaning in the experience, you know, so accept the compliments. One of the things you'll discover as a caregiver is that the quality of life is not determined by circumstances, but how you and the person for whom you care perceive the circumstances, okay? Make it your best. Remember date nights, dance a little, read a little, have a cup of wine, talk to the doctor, say, can I give the person a little bit of wine? Or have a nice cup of iced tea, dim the lights, hold hands, kiss, hug, dance, you know, be with each other. Understand that nothing is going wrong. Given our culture, this is the toughest principle to understand. It's easy to get caught in if only he, she had taken the test sooner, or the doctor should have, or why didn't he? These are very human reactions to frustrating and sad circumstances. Spiritually speaking, everything is unfolding exactly as it must at all times. We do not know how the story is supposed to go. We reduce suffering all around if we can be with what is without judgment. There is real power in not having to fix or change anything. Go with the moment. Go with the moment. It is what it's supposed to be. Okay. With that, I leave you with one more quote, and that is, just for today, I would adjust myself to what is and not try to adjust to my own desires. I would take my luck as it comes and fix myself to it. And that comes from the Al-Anon family group. And with that, my friends, you know, I appreciate you being with me tonight. I hope you learned something. So I'm open to any questions you may have. Michelle?
Thank you, Elizabeth. People just wanted to say thank you for your supportive offering. Someone thanked you for getting their bracelet. Someone had talked about the 360 Life installed on the iPhone as a tracker.
It's a good one. Yeah, yeah. They do. You could put that on your iPhone, on your phone. As a matter of fact, I have it on my phone because my family wants to find out. I do a lot of outreach, so they want to keep a track of where I am, and it works. It really works. But always remember, the person with dementia may not take the phone with them, but you could try it. Just do it. It'll give you peace of mind. If it gives you peace of mind, do it.
Also, that the police precinct will take back your guns.
Yeah, so if you call up if you call up your council member's office, you can find out when it's buybacks. You can go to the police department or call up your local police department, ask for community affairs and say, listen, I have a gun here, or I have some swords and knives that, you know, people collect these things, and my loved one has dementia. Do you know where I could, you know, disperse of them, you know, and they'll let you know. They'll let you know. It's the same thing goes for medication. You know, medication is very dangerous to have around. If you have a lot of medication, you don't know what to do with it, you could go to your local CVS. I know our CVS right here on 42nd Street. So they don't take it back, but there's a box that you could disperse your medication. You take it and throw it in there, and they pick it up and they get rid of it for you. So find out from your local CVS or Walgreens, do they have a box like that? Okay.
There is a question here. Do you know the range of the AirTag, Apple AirTag or Samsung track when the loved one leaves the apartment or house?
So I don't know the Apple AirTag. No, I don't know what the range of that is. And no, I don't. No, I don't.
Anybody else have any other questions? Marta, I see your hand. Oh, is that an applause? Yep, thank you. Anybody have any other questions that you would like to ask Elizabeth before we thank everybody for being here?
Hear me?
Yes. Mhm.
I was wondering if you can have the video of tonight so I can watch it another time.
Yes, Julie will send those out. Mhm.
Okay, I appreciate it because I'm a caretaker and this is dinner time. And I had to go back and forth and I had to check on him. So I couldn't be with you 100%.
It will, Julia, it will also be on YouTube, the Caring Kind YouTube channel posted.
It will be.
All of our Monday night educational meetings are posted onto our YouTube channel, The Caring Kind,
Okay,
and you can also access it from there.
okay, I'll try.
If you have a problem, call the helpline. We'll send you the link directly.
I would like you to send it directly before
Mhm.
I spend so much time on it. I
Yeah.
would.
No worry. Yeah.
Yes, if there is anything else, I will look for it. What can accommodate me?
Great. Any other questions, you can call the helpline 646-744-2900, but we'll send that to you.
Okay, and thank you very much for the speaker tonight. She was very professional, very caring, and she spoke in such an easy manner. So I felt very comfortable. And she had so many points that I was wondering about, and I feel very satisfied and worthwhile sitting. Whatever I could hear tonight was very useful, and I'm sure it will be useful for others too.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Hi.
Hi, well, this is my first meeting and I definitely thank you both, Elizabeth. That was a wonderful presentation. I have lots of questions and I think I emailed Michelle a note. Definitely would like to share this presentation, if at all possible, with my other siblings. And was wondering if there was a presentation as such that maybe I can take my brother who is suffering from this disease, that he may be able to kind of see, at least get the logistics. I don't even know if it's something that he would understand. Do you find that meetings as such are helpful to them? Because my brother seems to still be in denial for what he has, and he gets very upset sometimes because he thinks that I just say these things to make him look bad, which is the most hardest thing that anyone can experience. But at the same time, I do want to do whatever I can to help him. And I was just wondering if there were some meetings that I can maybe take him personally for, or that I can share with him so that he doesn't feel bad and so he understands it a little better.
Thank you, Lorena, for sharing with us. Are you his caregiver?
No, I'm
His
not.
your partner?
He's just been diagnosed. He's my younger brother, and it's very unusual for him to have come up with this disease. And so we're kind of still in shock, but at the same time, I'm the one who has been taking care of all his appointments and everything else. So I wanted to share this meeting with the rest of my siblings. And I also want him to maybe see something so that maybe he understands this a little better, because he holds me completely responsible that I'm saying that he has this illness when he really doesn't.
So yes, we can share this with you. Absolutely. I would also encourage you to call the helpline and access a consultation with one of our social workers.
Okay.
I think that would be really helpful for you. And even for your brother. So we can give you some support.
We do have a Spanish social worker. His name is Dante.
Mhm.
So if your brother may be comfortable speaking to another man, you could always ask for Dante Tipiani. He's a social worker.
No, thank you. Actually, my brother doesn't speak Spanish.
Oh, okay.
We are from Spanish descent, yes, but we were predominantly raised here, so his first language would be English.
Okay, great.
But thank you, again, this has been helpful and at the same time, very sad to learn how these things progress, and I didn't even know that he could still drive. We haven't allowed him to drive in over a year. And the wondering, do you know when it starts? Does it start at different times for everyone?
Yes, yes, but it can start in the beginning stages of the dementia. So you will begin to see little changes in their behavior. Getting lost to going to simple places that they used to go. Maybe he used to go to the bodega all the time to get bread and coffee. All of a sudden, it's taken longer for him to come back. If he would go to the park, he would go and then come back right away. Now it's taking a little longer. These little adventures that he used to take on a day-to-day basis are getting longer. And if he is driving, and also if he's losing things, is he coming back with everything? Or is there something that's being lost? Like, where is he stopping along the way? So yeah, it starts in the beginning.
So you also mentioned earlier, and let me know if you have to go, because I know 2 hours is a long time for you guys, but you mentioned earlier that not to confuse them anymore, not to take them to places, but let's say we're very close-knit family here. We're all here on Staten Island and we live within like 4 or 5 blocks of one another. We're constantly in each other's homes. Would that cause some sort of unsettlement in him, even though he's used to living at his home and I do have to get him someone to take care of him as well? But will he be confused? Because I find that he likes being with other people all the time. He actually prefers it. So we're always here at my house, we're in my brother's house. Do you think that that's causing him confusion, even though he expresses the desire to want to be here?
But you hit the nail on the head. If he's expressing the desire, then that's what he's wanting. He's fulfilling the needs. Now,
Okay.
if he says no, then that's a need.
Always listen when they say no, right?
Absolutely.
And this is my last question. He is relatively still not a young, whippersnapper, but he is 56 years old and it hit him really early. But he actually enjoys music. So in my car, I do play music that are of his liking. And believe it, the last time we went to a place here and to hear music and there were people dancing and he actually danced. So I'm thinking, unless I can still continue to take him and do all those things, but the minute he says no, then I have to then stop. But if he says okay and he's okay doing it, then there's no reason for me to kind of cut it off, right?
Absolutely. Music is universal.
Mhm.
Dancing is one form of exercise that it is amazing, okay? And it's healthy for him. And if he wants to do it, let him do it. If he says to you, I'm not up to it today, that's fine. And I know I mentioned it. As a matter of fact, there's a commercial that's out with a husband and wife, and they're dancing to a slow, I think it's a Teddy Pendergrass song. It's okay. You do have to be a little careful because some music brings us back to certain memories.
Okay.
If I hear the Beatles, it brings me back. If he hears the Rolling Stones, I don't know where that would take him. If he hears Ray, I don't know if it's salsa or bachata, wherever he lives, music has a form of triggering people. So
I
you
see.
also have to be careful with that too. So you have to watch how his behavior changes as he's dancing and, listening to the music. But if he's in the car and he's listening to his doo-wop and he's there, hey, music is great. The music is great, soul and all kinds, from jazz to mellow him down, to bring him up, yeah, go for it. And when he says, Lorena, I don't want to go today, fine, leave it alone.
Lorena, I would also encourage you to call the helpline and see if he can enroll in some of our early stage programs.
I will.
Probably
I definitely will
with other
call.
individuals to create connectedness.
That's
And-
exactly what I'm looking for. I'm looking for him to maybe let him know that he's not the only one
Correct.
experiencing this
Mhm.
by himself, and that there's maybe someone who's young as him. By profession, my brother is an architect. So this is, I think it, when he does realize, it brings him extreme sadness because he's so used to always being busy and working as hard as he has always in his entire lifetime. So you know, it's a great deal. I mean, not only is this a disease that is bad for everyone, but I'm saying for him, who was always so active and young, and I can't, well, I'm sure you've heard it thousands of times, and I won't, you know, repeat what you guys already know.
So the
And
two,
it's-
the two programs that I'm thinking about for him is cognitive stimulation therapy.
What is it called?
And it's called cognitive stimulation therapy, and the support group for those diagnosed early stage is Journey Together. So there is a support group specifically designed. It's an educational workshop, and support group specifically designed for those diagnosed early stage. And then it's called Journey Together. And then for the caregiver, there's a support group in the same manner, evidence-based by Ed Shaw under his model, Partnering Together. So for the care partner. So I would encourage you to call the helpline. And one of the social works we'll ask some questions, do a screen, and see which group he fits best for him. Because
Well,
you want to have connectedness.
I do. And
And cognitive stimulation therapy is proven, evidence-based programming.
no, definitely. I'm certainly gonna
Mhm.
try, and we'll try doing these calls tomorrow. Once again, I think that this has been a great milestone for us to kind of get here, and for me to listen in to things that are a little scary. You know, when you speak about them being bed bound, and that, to me, you know, I knew that eventually will come, but it almost seems like it was gonna come right away. And I think some experience it at different stages. I'm not sure, but that was a little hard to hear, but I understand it's the reality of the illness. And it just brings me back to a wake-up call, but it's something that I think I needed to kind of have focus and kind of see that it's there, you know.
Mhm.
But thank you both once again for
Thank you.
this great wealth of knowledge for me. And I definitely appreciate all your efforts in getting this over to us. I thank you.
Thank you. And I see one other comment here that Ted had asked, does Caring Kind work with the Alzheimer's Association regarding providing help, tips, webinars, and workshop? We do work closely with the Alzheimer's Association. It is not them or us, it's us together. So we do work together. The more services that we can provide families and those living who are diagnosed, the better off we all are as a community. So it's not them or us, it's together. Any other questions before, one question here, talk about patient financial legal paperwork. Yeah, we do offer legal and financial seminars, Medicaid home care seminars. So yes, it is important to talk a little bit about getting those financial houses in order sooner versus than later. But the attorneys do a very good job with that. Anything else for Elizabeth before we sign off for tonight? I'm so happy you all were here. Again, the helpline number is 646-744-2900. And we look forward to seeing you again. We offer these seminars monthly. The next month is monthly education meeting is going to be on Monday, June 5th. And that is about summer vacation. And that's going to be presented by one of our social workers, Adina. So look out for what's happening at Caring Kind. Call our helpline. Let us know how we can help you, as we're here for you and to support you. Thank you all for being here. Elizabeth, you have anything else? Thank you,
No, good.
Elizabeth.
Thank you very much. And if there's anyone on the screen that's a mother, happy Mother's Day to all of you.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you again.
Thank you.